We're about to dive into a story, a crime that didn't just shock the world with its brutality, but because it was designed to be seen. We're going to break down the truly disturbing and, honestly, complex case of Luka Magnotta and his victim, Jun Lin.
So, where does this whole thing begin? Well, picture this. It's May 29th, 2012. Seems like just another day in Canadian politics. A package shows up at the headquarters of the Conservative Party, but something's off. It's stained, and there's this awful smell coming from it.
And inside, a human foot. I mean, just imagine that for a second. The discovery was obviously shocking, and it kicked off this massive nationwide investigation into what would become one of the most gruesome crimes in Canada's entire history. Okay, so to really get our heads around this, here's how we're going to tackle it. We'll start with that gruesome discovery. Then we'll talk about the life that was tragically cut short, and the person behind this hunt for notoriety. We'll follow the international manhunt, look at the trial, and wrap up with what this all means for us in a digital age.
All right, first up, a gruesome discovery. You know, the really chilling part is how it all came to light. It wasn't just that one package. Oh no, it was a whole series of them, sent all across the country.
And the trail was, well, it was just chillingly deliberate. You had a left foot mailed to the Conservative Party, and then a left hand sent over to the Liberal Party. I mean, the message there is pretty clear. Then it gets even worse. A right foot and hand get sent to 2 elementary schools in Vancouver, and the notes inside? Pure taunts, one of them promising even more killings. As if that's not enough, at the exact same time, a janitor in Montreal stumbles upon a decomposing torso stuffed in a suitcase in an alley. Okay, so before we get any deeper into the crime, we need to pause. It's so important to remember who the victim was here. This is the story of Jun Lin, a life cut short. He wasn't just a headline. He was a real person with hopes and dreams and a future that was just violently ripped away. So who was Jun Lin? He was 33 years old, from Wuhan, China. He'd come to Canada in 2010 to start a totally new life, studying computer engineering at Concordia University. His friend said he was a romantic. You know, he was working part-time at a convenience store to make ends meet, and at the same time, he was dealing with some really heavy personal stuff. His family was pressuring him to marry a woman while he was quietly trying to explore his own identity as a gay man in a brand new country.
All right, now we need to talk about the perpetrator. This is The Hunts for Notoriety, the story of Luka Magnotta. The police, they figured out who their suspect was pretty quickly. A guy who had spent years, and I mean years, desperately trying to become famous, no matter what it took. So, let's meet Luka Magnotta. He was actually born Eric Clinton Kirk Newman back in 1982. From what we know, he had a pretty troubled upbringing. His father was diagnosed with schizophrenia. He supported himself with a disability allowance, but he also did work as an escort, a stripper, and a low-level porn actor, always trying to get that fame he so desperately craved. And when you look back, you can see this really clear, really disturbing pattern of escalation. It all starts in 2005 with a fraud conviction. Then, in 2006, he legally changes his name to Luka Magnotta. By 2007, he's actually planting fake rumors about being in a relationship with the infamous killer Karla Homolka, just to get his name in the papers. And then 2010, things take a really dark turn. He posts that awful One Boy, Two Kittens video, and that's when he gets the notoriety he was after, especially from online animal rights groups. And this is where you see these two completely different paths just tragically collide. Think about it. On one hand, you have Jun Lin, who was looking for a new life, for an education, for connection. He was using online apps to meet people. And on the other hand, you have Luka Magnotta. He wasn't seeking connection, he was seeking notoriety. He created over 70 fake Facebook pages just to build up this false identity, this fake persona, and ultimately to use Craigslist ads to lure potential victims. Okay, so once his identity was out, Magnotta was on the run. He fled the country, and what happened next was a full-blown international manhunt. This global chase put his face on screens all over the world, which, you know, is exactly what he'd always wanted. I mean, listen to this. This note was included with one of the packages. Roses are red, violets are blue. The police will need dental records to identify you, bitch. It just tells you everything you need to know about his mindset, right? It's calculated, it's taunting, and there's absolutely zero remorse. He wasn't just committing a crime, he was putting on a performance for the authorities and for the entire world. And this manhunt moved
fast. Look at the timeline. May 25th, just a day after John Lynn was last seen alive, Magnotta is on a plane to Paris using his own name. By the 29th, when the body parts are being found back in Canada, he's already in Europe. May 31st, Interpol issues a red notice for his arrest. And then, just a few days later on June 4th, it's all over. He's arrested in an internet cafe in Berlin. And what was he doing? He was reading news articles about himself.
So, Magnotta gets extradited back to Canada to face trial. And this brings us to the next chapter, justice for Jin Lin. The whole case, the whole trial wasn't really going to be about if he did it. He admitted to the acts. It was all going to come down to his state of mind when he did them.
The Crown hit him with 5 major charges that really covered the whole horrifying scope of what he did. You've got first-degree murder, obviously. Then, committing an indignity to a dead body. Publishing obscene material. That's for the one lunatic, one ice pick video. Mailing that same obscene material. And even criminally harassing the Prime Minister and Parliament. It was a long list. Okay, so this table really gets to the heart of the trial. It was a total battle of the minds. Remember, Magnotta admitted to doing everything, so the whole thing came down to why. The defense brought in experts who diagnosed him with paranoid schizophrenia, arguing he wasn't criminally responsible. But the Crown's experts, they saw something different. They argued it was personality disorders, borderline, histrionic, narcissistic, and that he was completely aware of what he was doing. So the jury is left with this conflicting testimony. They deliberated for 8 long days, and in the end, they came back with the verdict. They found Luka Magnotta guilty. Guilty on all 5 charges. They completely rejected the defense's argument, concluding that his actions were planned. They were deliberate, and they were not the result of psychosis. And for that first-degree murder conviction in Canada, the sentence is mandatory, life in prison. He won't even be eligible for parole for 25 years. So justice for John Lynn was served, but that's not where the story ends. We're left with this dark digital legacy, because the lasting impact of this case is so tangled up with the internet, the very tool Magnotta used to create his own infamy. And this is really the key takeaway, why this case still matters so much today. It was a kind of watershed moment. It showed everyone how a killer could literally use social media to become their own online broadcaster. They could get direct, instant access to the global audience they craved. The crime was the performance. It was all for an audience. And that leaves us with a really unsettling final thought. When a killer craves an audience, what is our role in all of this? In a world where being famous or infamous is a kind of currency, and some people will literally kill to get it, does watching, does sharing, does talking about these crimes just give these killers exactly what they wanted all along? It's a tough question, and one we all kind of have to grapple with.